5% as growth strengthens and tourism drives record revenues. Former MTPA executives claim their dismissal was orchestrated to silence revelations of a major corruption network reaching Paris financial prosecutors. Gavin Glover pushes ahead with judicial modernization as 15 bills strengthen prosecution powers, tighten procedures and introduce strict case deadlines. Mauritius moves toward a plastic-free future as Environment Ministry validates national roadmap to reduce and eliminate plastic pollution. Il Courts Festival returns after 5 years with 3 weekends of free screenings showcasing 27 films from 14 countries. In world news, U.S. government reopens as President Trump signs bill ending the longest shutdown in American history. And in sports news, Zeus draws gate 8 as the gatekeeper secures inside lane for Sunday's maiden, with Good Counsel and Ali Maurice also among leading contenders. The governor of the Bank of Mauritius, Priscilla Mutura-Taku, announced that the key interest rate is being maintained at 4.5%. She made the statement during her first press conference as head of the institution yesterday. The Bank of Mauritius notes that the Mauritian economy is progressing, with growth estimated at 3.1% this year, driven notably by the tourism sector, whose revenues are expected to reach a record of 100 billion rupees. The inflation rate, meanwhile, is expected to stand at 3.7% this year compared to an initial forecast of 4%. More details in this report voiced over by Pranav Bihari.
The governor of the Bank of Mauritius, Dr. Priscilla Mutura-Taku, announced yesterday that the key interest rate will remain at 4.5%. This decision was made during her first press conference as head of the institution, marking her entry into office at a time when both the national and global economic context remains complex. The decision aims to maintain price stability while supporting the country's economic growth. The governor stressed that the Bank of Mauritius is closely monitoring the financial situation and the banking market in order to safeguard investor confidence and ensure the soundness of the local financial system. During the press conference, she was questioned about the Mam Ravatomang affair and whether it could affect the credibility of Mauritius's financial institutions. The governor said she did not wish to comment on the matter, but reassured the public and investors, emphasizing that the Bank of Mauritius will do everything necessary to preserve financial stability and Mauritius's reputation as a trusted financial center. Her statement reflects the bank's commitment to maintaining transparency and economic stability while remaining vigilant to both global and domestic risks.
And in other news making headlines, it is a case with the hallmarks of a state-level scandal revealed by former MTPA leaders the day after their dismissal. Former director Avinash Tilok and former chairperson Claire Lele claim they were fired for having assisted a witness who came from Europe in exposing a large corruption network. Complaints were reportedly filed all the way to the Parquet Financier in Paris. The two dismissed executives are categorical. Their removal serves to protect those they were targeting. More details with Jean-François Lecning and Ashi Bachu.
The real reason behind their sudden dismissal is political. It was necessary to put an end to the fight they were leading against corruption within the MTPA. At least this is what emerges from a statement sent to the press on Wednesday by Avinash Tilok and Claire Lele. Until yesterday, they were respectively director and chairperson of the Tourism Authority before being removed without explanation and by email, according to the statement. Up until now, bound by confidentiality, it is only today that we can reveal that we were required to welcome and protect a key witness who traveled from Europe at his own expense to make a deposition against the former director and certain officials of the MTPA, explained Tilok and Lele. They did not name anyone but specified that this witness has filed a complaint with the Parquet Financier in Paris and with the Financial Crimes Commission regarding a major case of corruption. This witness took considerable risks. Our mandate was to clean up the institution. Our dismissal serves to protect those we were targeting, they added. Claire Lele and Avinash Tilok believe that an article published in the newspaper Weekend, which they considered defamatory, may have triggered their revocation. They question whether the information may have leaked from the office of the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Tourism. The two dismissed executives also specified that the Ministry of Finance never refused their request to travel in business class, but that said the major event mentioned above forced them to remain in the country just days before their planned departure for the WTM trade fair.
Meanwhile, following their dismissal, the board appointed Yashra Kidu, acting DPS Ministry of Tourism, on Wednesday as officer in charge to ensure the interim leadership of the organisation. Since taking office, Gavin Glover has introduced 15 of the 28 bills presented to the National Assembly, some aimed at strengthening the position of the Director of Public Prosecutions, while others simplified procedures and imposed strict deadlines for certain cases. We take a listen to this overview of the judicial reforms undertaken, voiced by Rupeshna Ajuda.
This judicial reform engages several targets. Some laws, such as the Commissions of Inquiry Act, dated back to 1944, in great need of adjustments. A judicial system can't remain static. It has to keep up with society's evolution, economic trends, pressing demands covering rights and other protections society requires. The Legal Aid Act has also been updated, driving to a raised income eligibility threshold. It is quite old and one has to consider the minimum wage we now have, shifting the amount qualifying someone to benefit or not. That doesn't mean the person has the means to defend his or her case. An amendment to the FCC Act led the Director of Public Prosecutions to the Centre of Financial Crime Prosecutions. The Bail Act now stipulates that after a provisional charge, the police have to seek the DPP's opinion if they object to bail. The decision rests solely with the DPP. Another focus involves simplifying and clarifying appeals. Two laws streamline procedures. On top of that, an amendment to the Courts Act was planned to tighten the framework for judicial reviews by imposing strict time limits. A constitutional amendment was adopted to align laws with the UN Convention Against Torture. In parallel, recasting the penal code cleared crimes of passion as a mitigating circumstance. Regarding the legal profession, the Senior Counsel and Senior Attorney Act was passed to define the method of appointment to honorary titles. While some of the profession's demands have been met, consultations are desired on other bills, such as the Law Practitioners Disciplinary Proceedings Bill. That's the first regulation passed by the Attorney General. It removed the trade license requirement for practitioners in Mauritius, especially considering the situation in Port-Louis, which was slightly absurd. Trade licenses applied only there and to no other municipality. It's a matter of deference for practitioners to be consulted when they are concerned. He doesn't say that they shouldn't be regulated, but they need to be asked their opinion. A law always functions better when based on consultations. Overall, 15 bills were tabled, 14 were passed, and 7 have already become law.
And on to environmental-related news. The Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change brought together representatives from the public sector, private sector, academia and NGOs at the Maritime Resort and Spa in Balaclava to validate the roadmap towards a plastic pollution-free Mauritius, a workshop forming part of a national project launched in June 2024. The objective, to finalize a strategic document that will guide the country's actions to reduce and eventually eliminate plastic pollution in the coming years. More on this with Rupeshna Ajuda.
Every day, the equivalent of 2,000 truckloads of plastic waste are dumped into the oceans, weighing between 19 and 23 million tons of plastic, ending up in marine ecosystems each year, according to the United Nations Development Programme. On this track, it is choking the oceans, carrying many small island states like Mauritius. The latter rallied all stakeholders, including private and public sectors, engaging since 1 year on forging a roadmap towards a firmer legal framework and strategic planning to cut plastic pollution, as well as sustainable alternatives.
Il va falloir faire une caractérisation.
We need to outline all our plastic waste characterization, understand what kind of plastic we import. We also require an investment-driven environment towards recycling, design thinking. As major capex for the private sector, it takes preparation. Manufacturers will have to set up strategies to recover plastic that they are marketing. That is one of the channels which will contribute to slash plastic pollution in the country. Beyond the legal framework, this project also fits into the global dynamics to fight plastic pollution.
Nos partenaires agissent au niveau national.
They're not only acting at national but international level, connecting with other alliance of small island states members, as well as the High Ambition Coalition. They are working and forming an international and intergovernmental committee to ultimately reach a global treaty to combat plastic pollution. The project took off in June 2024 and wraps up this November. It draws on expertise from the University of Mauritius, also professionals in environment, law and finance.
And in other news, after a 5-year absence, the Mauritius International Short Film Festival, Il Courts, is making its big comeback. Its 12th edition will take place over 3 weekends from 28 November to 13 December, with 27 films from 14 countries, including Mauritius, screened free of charge. Organized by the Association Portiers d'Images, the festival is supported by the Indian Ocean Commission, the French Development Agency, the IFM, the Mauritius Film Development Corporation, and the MBC. And it's 9:11. We're listening to Rm1 where we move to international news. President Donald Trump on Wednesday signed legislation ending the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, roughly 2 hours after the House of Representatives voted to restart disrupted food assistance, pay hundreds of thousands of federal workers, and revive a weakened air traffic control system. The measure extends funding through January 30, keeping the government on track to add about $1.8 trillion a year to the $38 trillion national debt. The end of the shutdown offers hope that air travel services will stabilize before the busy Thanksgiving holiday period in 2 weeks. The restoration of food aid to millions of families may also ease household budgets as the Christmas shopping season ramps up. And finally in sports, the draw for the starting gates of the Maiden was held last night at the headquarters of the Mauritius Turf Club in Port Louis. The gatekeeper from the Rameshwar Gujada stable drew gate 1. Favourite Zeus will start from gate 8 and Ali Maurice from gate 2. Another contender, Good Counsel, drew gate 5. The official program will be released early this afternoon. The first race will start at 12:15 p.m. and the maiden is expected at 3:25 on Sunday. And that's all from me this morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. Stay tuned now to the Intimate playlist until 10.